She doesn't stop loving you when you give more. She stops respecting you. Think about that for a second. You've done everything right. You show up early. You remember the little things. You listen even when you're exhausted. You rearrange your schedule, mute your needs, and swallow your pride. All to prove you're the good guy. And yet, somehow you end up feeling like background noise, like an afterthought, like someone she texts only when it's convenient or when she's lonely. Here's the brutal truth no one wants to say out loud. Kindness without boundaries isn't strength. It's self-erasure. And in the quiet erosion of your presence, she stops seeing you as essential and starts treating you as optional. But what if I told you there's one invisible behavior so subtle, so automatic, that silently drains your value every single time you do it? Not yelling, not ghosting, not playing games. Something far more common and far more damaging. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on that hidden habit and replacing it with 8 ancient Stoic principles that don't just restore your dignity. They make her feel your absence like gravity. This isn't about manipulation. It's about reclamation. About becoming the kind of man whose silence speaks louder than pleading ever could. If you've ever felt invisible in a relationship where you gave everything, stay with me. This might be the turning point you've been waiting for. And hey, if this hits home, hit subscribe. Because what comes next isn't just advice. It's a reset button for how you show up in love, life, and power. Now let's begin. 1. Stop over-explaining yourself. Certainty is magnetic. Let's get brutally honest for a second. Have you ever caught yourself sending 3 texts just to clarify why you couldn't make it to dinner? Or rehearsing a 5-minute speech in your head before telling her you need space? Or worse, apologizing for something that wasn't even your fault just to keep the peace? So, you're not alone. But here's what you might not realize. Every time you over-explain, you're whispering to her subconscious, "I'm not sure I belong here." And women, consciously or not, sense that. Not because they're judging you harshly, but because human psychology is wired to trust certainty. Think about it. When someone speaks with calm clarity, without hedging or backtracking, you lean in. You listen. You assume they know what they're doing. But when someone stumbles through justifications, qualifiers, and endless context, you start tuning out. Not out of cruelty, but because uncertainty feels unstable, and instability doesn't inspire respect. It invites dismissal. Now, let's bring in the Stoics. Not as dusty philosophers, but as elite emotional strategists. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what over-explaining is. Suffering in advance. You're trying to control her reaction before she's even had one. You're negotiating your worth before she's questioned it. But a grounded man doesn't negotiate his presence. He states it. Imagine this. Instead of saying, "I know I've been distant lately and I'm really sorry. It's just work has been insane and I didn't mean to ignore you. I swear." You simply say, "I needed some space to recharge. I'm back now." No justification. No groveling. Just truth delivered calmly. That shift does something profound. It tells her and yourself that your actions don't require her stamp of approval to be valid. And paradoxically, that's when she starts valuing your words more. Because now every sentence carries weight. Every choice feels intentional. You're no longer background static. You're the signal. This isn't about being cold or withholding. It's about trusting yourself enough to stand in your truth without scaffolding. So, ask yourself, what are you explaining today that you could simply embody tomorrow? Your actions don't require an apology, and your truth doesn't need a script. Stop negotiating your worth. If you are done groveling for approval and are ready to speak with calm, absolute certainty from this day forward, comment signal over static right now. Let the community know you are holding the line. 2. Stop being available 24/7. Scarcity fuels respect. Let's talk about a silent killer of masculine value. One so subtle most men never see it coming until it's too late. It's not laziness. It's not dishonesty. It's constant availability. You reply instantly to every text. You drop your plans the second she says she's having a rough day. You're always on call, emotionally, logistically, even energetically, as if your sole purpose is to orbit her mood. And here's the cruel irony. The more available you are, the less valuable you become. Why? Because human desire runs on contrast. We don't crave what's always within reach. We crave what feels earned, rare, and meaningful. Think about it. If water flowed endlessly from every tap in pure gold, would anyone still treasure it? Of course not. Abundance kills longing. Now, this isn't about playing hard to get. That's a cheap trick, and women smell manipulation from a mile away. This is about something far deeper. Living a life so full, so aligned with your purpose, that your time becomes sacred. Not because you say so, but because it's visibly true. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who ruled Rome while writing meditations in war camps, once said, "A man's worth is measured by the worth of what he values." So, ask yourself, what does your constant availability communicate? That your peace is negotiable, that your goals can wait, that her momentary discomfort outweighs your long-term vision. And she feels that not as love, but as weakness. But when you step back, not with anger, not with silence as punishment, but with quiet commitment to your own rhythm, something shifts. She notices your absence not as rejection, but as mystery. She starts wondering, what is he doing? Who is he becoming? Why doesn't he need me right now? And that curiosity, that's the doorway to renewed respect. Because the man who invests deeply in his own life, who trains, creates, builds, reflects, is the man she wants to be part of. Not because he's chasing her, but because he's already moving towards something greater. So, protect your time like it's your last resource, because it is. Say no without guilt. Delay replies when you're focused. Keep your plans sacred even if she asks you to cancel. Not to punish her, but to honor yourself. And watch what happens. She won't pull away. She'll lean in with more intention, more appreciation, and yes, more priority. Abundance kills longing, but self-respect commands value. Stop orbiting her mood and start protecting your time like the finite, sacred resource it is. If you are done being on call 24/7 and are ready to put your mission first, comment time is sacred right now. Let the world know your presence must be earned. 3. Stop fixing everything. Presence greater than rescue. Here's a truth that cuts deep. Trying to fix her doesn't make you noble, it makes you invisible. You hear her vent about work and you jump in with solutions. She's overwhelmed and you rearrange your entire week to help. She's sad and you panic, scrambling to cheer her up, distract her, or erase the pain like it's your job to keep her emotionally afloat. But here's what she feels in those moments. Not gratitude, but suffocation. Why? Because when you rush to fix her emotions, you send a quiet message. I can't handle your full humanity. Your sadness, frustration, or confusion makes me uncomfortable. So I need to control it. And that doesn't feel like love. It feels like pressure. Stoicism offers a radical alternative, not through action, but through stillness. Epictetus, born a slave, yet one of history's most liberated minds, taught, "No great thing is created suddenly." That includes healing. That includes clarity. That includes emotional resolution. She doesn't need you to solve her storm. She needs you to stand calmly in the eye of it. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you without interrupting, without offering advice, without trying to make it better. Didn't that silence feel more powerful than any pep talk? Didn't you feel seen, not fixed? That's the power of presence. A Stoic man doesn't confuse support with salvation. He knows his role isn't to carry her burdens, but to walk beside her while she carries them herself. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. She begins to trust him not as a crutch, but as a pillar. Because pillars don't move. They don't collapse under weight. They simply hold space. And in doing so, they invite strength in others. When you stop fixing, you give her permission to be human. And paradoxically, that's when she starts leaning on you not out of dependency, but out of deep respect. She realizes this man isn't scared of my mess. He doesn't need me to be perfect to stay. He's steady even when I'm not. And that kind of stability, it's magnetic. So, next time she shares a struggle, resist the urge to solve. Instead say, "That sounds really heavy. I'm here." Then say nothing. Just be there. Watch how her eyes soften. Watch how she opens up further. Watch how she starts seeking you. Not for answers, but for grounding. Because women don't fall for rescuers, they fall for men who are already whole. Trying to fix her emotions is just a disguised need to control them. Stop being a crutch and start being a pillar. If you are ready to stop chasing the rescuer trap and choose calm, grounded presence over frantic problem-solving, comment "Be a pillar" right now. Let the community see who is standing steady. For stop chasing her attention. Silence builds gravity. Let's cut through the noise with one uncomfortable truth. The moment you start chasing her attention, you hand her your power. You notice she hasn't texted back in a few hours, so you send another message just to check in. She seems distant during a call, so you double down on compliments, affection, or reassurance. She pulls away emotionally, and instead of giving space, you lean in harder, trying to win her back with more effort, more vulnerability, more proof that you're worthy of her focus. But here's what actually happens. Your pursuit becomes background static. And the louder you try to be heard, the less she listens. Why? Because attention that must be begged for loses its value the moment it's given. It's not authentic. It's obligation. And deep down, she knows it. You know it too. Now bring in the Stoics. Not as passive monks, but as masters of psychological leverage. Marcus Aurelius didn't beg his enemies for respect. He embodied it so completely that even chaos bowed to his calm. And Epictetus, who had nothing but his mind, taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters." So what's the response when she withdraws? Not panic, not performance, stillness. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's potential. When you stop reacting to every shift in her energy, you create space. And in that space, something powerful grows. Curiosity. She starts wondering, why isn't he chasing me? Is he okay? Does he not care anymore? Or does he care so deeply he trusts us enough to wait? That uncertainty flips the script. Now she's the one seeking clarity. She's the one reaching out, not because you demanded it, but because your absence made her feel the weight of your presence. This isn't manipulation, it's maturity. A man who doesn't need constant validation communicates one thing. My worth isn't tied to your current mood. And that's intoxicating. Think about the most magnetic people you've ever met. Were they the ones constantly checking if you liked them? Or were they the ones so grounded in their own purpose that you couldn't help but want to be near them? Exactly. So, the next time she goes quiet, don't fill the void. Hold your center. Return to your mission. Let your life speak for you. Because the man who walks away from drama without anger, who stays focused while others scramble for scraps of attention, who lets silence do the work, is the man she can't ignore. Attention that must be begged for is worthless. Stop handing over your power. If you are done chasing scraps of attention and are ready to let your silence build real gravity, comment "Hold your center" right now. Let the community see who is stepping back into his power. 5. Stop seeking her validation. Your worth is non-negotiable. Let's talk about the invisible leash most men don't even know they're wearing. The need to be validated by her. You might not say it out loud, but it shows up in subtle ways. You dress a certain way because you know she likes it. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny just to keep her smiling. You suppress your opinions to avoid conflict. You measure your success by whether she's proud of you. And every time you do, you whisper to your own subconscious, "I am incomplete without her approval." But here's what Stoicism reveals with surgical clarity. Your worth was never up for debate. As Epictetus put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that wounds you. And if your interpretation is, if she doesn't approve, I'm failing, then you've handed her the keys to your self-worth. That's dangerous. Not because she'll misuse it, though sometimes she might, but because a man who seeks external validation becomes emotionally porous. He leaks strength with every compromise. He trades authenticity for acceptance. And over time, he becomes someone even he doesn't recognize. Now, contrast that with the Stoic ideal. A man whose inner compass is so steady, so unshakable, that no one, not even the woman he loves, can recalibrate it. This isn't arrogance. It's sovereignty. When you stop seeking her validation, something remarkable happens. She starts offering it freely. Why? Because humans are drawn to certainty. When you stand firm in your values, even when she disagrees, you radiate a quiet confidence that can't be faked. You become a reference point, not a reflection. She no longer sees you as someone trying to earn love. She sees you as someone who already embodies it and chooses to share it. And that changes everything. Because now her praise isn't a lifeline, it's a bonus. Her criticism isn't a crisis, it's just her perspective. And your peace remains intact regardless of her mood. This is the essence of Stoic strength. Living from an internal standard so high, external noise can't drown it out. So, ask yourself tonight, what part of yourself have you muted just to keep her comfortable? What truth have you swallowed because you feared her reaction? Reclaim it. Not loudly, not defiantly, but gently. Like returning home after a long absence. Because the moment you stop needing her to confirm your value is the moment she finally sees it. Your worth was never up for debate, and your strength is not negotiable. Cut the leash of external approval. If you are ready to reclaim your emotional sovereignty and live by your own internal standard from this moment on, comment internal sovereignty right now. Let the community know who holds the keys to his own peace. 6. Stop sacrificing your standards. Boundaries are the language of self-respect. Let's confront a quiet epidemic in modern relationships. Men abandoning their standards to keep the peace. You ignore red flags because she's been through a lot. You tolerate disrespect because everyone has bad days. You compromise your values, your need for honesty, loyalty, emotional maturity, because you're afraid she'll walk away if you speak up. But here's what that really says. My peace is less important than her comfort. And once she senses that, even subtly, your value plummets. Not because she's cruel, but because human nature respects boundaries more than sacrifice. Think about it. When someone has clear lines about how they're spoken to, what they will and won't accept, where their time goes, you don't see them as rigid. You see them as trustworthy, as solid, as someone who knows who they are. That's the power of standards. Now, Stoicism doesn't preach rigidity. Preaches clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal during war, plague, and betrayal, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's not harshness. That's integrity, and integrity is magnetic, especially in a world where so many men bend themselves into pretzels just to be liked. When you stop sacrificing your standards, you do something revolutionary. You teach her how to treat you, not through lectures but through action. She snaps at you unfairly. You calmly say, "I'm happy to talk when we can speak respectfully." She flakes on plans last minute. You don't chase. Instead, you reschedule only if it aligns with your energy. She crosses a line. You don't explode. You withdraw with dignity, letting your absence speak louder than anger ever could. And in that space, something shifts. She realizes, this man isn't trying to control me. He's honoring himself. And if I want him in my life, I have to meet him there. That's not ultimatum. It's alignment. Because a woman doesn't lose interest in a man with boundaries. She gains respect for him. She feels safe with him. She sees him as a leader in his own life, not a follower in hers. And that's when she starts treating you like a priority, not out of fear, but out of genuine admiration. So, ask yourself, what standard have you ignored just to avoid conflict? What boundary have you blurred because you thought love meant tolerance? Reclaim it. Not with blame, but with quiet resolve. Because the man who stands firm in his truth is the man she can't afford to lose. Human nature respects boundaries, never sacrifice. Stop bending yourself into a pretzel just to keep an unstable peace. If you are done tolerating disrespect and are ready to let your quiet resolve enforce your boundaries from this day forward, comment integrity over peace right now. Let the community see who is holding the line. 7. Stop reacting to her moods. Emotional autonomy is irresistible. Let's talk about one of the most invisible traps men fall into: emotional mirroring. She's upset and you spiral. She's distant and you panic. She's excited and you ride that high like it's your oxygen. Her emotional state becomes your weather system, and without realizing it, You've outsourced your inner peace to her fluctuating energy. But here's what that does. It makes you emotionally dependent. And dependency doesn't inspire love. It breeds fatigue. Women don't want a man who matches their chaos. They want a man who anchors it. And this is where Stoicism shines, not as cold detachment, but as emotional sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while facing betrayal, plague, and war. And yet, his private journal, Meditations, reads like a masterclass in calm. Why? Because he understood a core truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your strength isn't measured by how much you care. It's measured by how steady you remain when she's not. When you stop reacting to her moods, when you refuse to let her emotional shifts dictate your worth or actions, you become something rare, a safe harbor. Think about it. If every time she's stormy, you either retreat in anger or rush in to fix things, she learns one thing. My emotions control him. But if instead you stay grounded, neither withdrawing nor overcompensating, she feels something entirely new. He's with me, but he's not lost in me. That's magnetic because now your presence isn't conditional on her being good or happy. You're there in full integrity, whether she's laughing or crying, distant or close. And that consistency builds profound trust. This isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about choosing which ones you act on. A Stoic man feels deeply, but responds wisely. He knows that reacting impulsively to her mood doesn't serve love. It serves fear. So next time she's upset, don't absorb it. Don't take it personally. Don't try to fix the atmosphere. Instead, say calmly, I see you're going through something. I'm here when you're ready. Then return to your center. Keep building your life. Keep honoring your rhythm. And watch what happens. She'll stop testing you with drama. She'll stop using silence as leverage, because she realizes you're not going anywhere and you're not coming unglued. You've become the rock, and rocks don't chase waves. They let the waves come to them. Stop letting her emotional state dictate your internal weather system. She doesn't want you to match her chaos. She needs you to anchor it. If you are done being an emotional mirror and are ready to stand as an unshakable rock from this day forward, comment, be the anchor right now. Let the community know you hold your own peace. 8. Stop dimming your light. Confidence isn't loud. It's unshakable. Here's a heartbreaking pattern most men never see until it's too late. They shrink themselves to make her feel comfortable. You downplay your ambitions because she seems threatened. You hide your passions because they don't fit her world. You soften your opinions, mute your humor, or hold back your intensity, all in the name of harmony. But what you're really doing is erasing yourself. And when you disappear, she doesn't feel safer. She feels bored. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Women aren't attracted to men who make themselves small. They're drawn to men who occupy their full space with calm, clarity, and conviction. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be humble in the sense of self-erasure. It asks you to be honest with yourself first. As Seneca wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. And you cannot enjoy the present if you're constantly editing who you are to fit someone else's comfort zone. Confidence, real confidence, isn't about bragging or dominance. It's about unapologetic alignment, living so fully in your truth that you don't need permission to exist. When you stop dimming your light, something extraordinary happens. She doesn't feel challenged. She feels inspired because your authenticity becomes a mirror. It shows her what's possible. A life lived with purpose, not performance. A man who doesn't contort himself for approval, but stands tall in his own skin. And that kind of energy, it's rare. It's magnetic. It's unforgettable. Think about the men in history or even in your own life who left a lasting impression. Were they the ones who blended in, or were they the ones who stood out? Not by shouting, but by simply being. Exactly. So, ask yourself, where have you muted your voice to keep the peace? What part of your brilliance have you hidden because you feared it might intimidate her? Bring it back. Not aggressively, not defensively, but gently. Like lighting a lamp in a room you've kept dark too long. Because the moment you reclaim your full presence is the moment she realizes what she almost lost. And that's when she stops treating you like an option and starts treating you like the priority you've always been. Stop making yourself small to keep others comfortable. Confidence doesn't shout. It simply refuses to hide. If you are done dimming your light and are ready to stand tall in your own skin with unapologetic alignment, comment light reclaimed right now. Let the community see who is occupying his full space. Conclusion. The priority paradox. She chooses you when you choose yourself. Let's bring this home with a truth so simple it's often missed. You don't become a priority by trying to be one. You become a priority by refusing to be anything less than whole. Every point we've covered, the over-explaining, the constant availability, the fixing, the chasing, the validation-seeking, the boundary erosion, the emotional reactivity, the self-dimming, these aren't just habits. They're signals. Quiet broadcasts sent from your nervous system straight into hers saying, "I'm not sure I deserve to be here." And she believes you, not because she's cruel or shallow, but because your behavior confirms it. But Stoicism flips the script entirely. It doesn't ask you to win her over. It asks you to come home to yourself. Marcus Aurelius didn't rule Rome by begging for loyalty. He earned it by embodying unwavering integrity, even in private, even when no one was watching. Seneca didn't write letters of wisdom from a place of need. He wrote from stillness, from clarity, from a life lived on purpose. And that's the invitation here. This isn't about tactics, it's about transformation. When you stop doing the things that shrink your presence, you don't just change how she sees you, you change how you see you. And that shift radiates outward like ripples in a pond. She notices your calm. She feels your consistency. She senses your inner order, even when her world is chaotic. And in that space, something profound happens. She stops treating you like an option because she can no longer imagine her life without your grounded presence. Not because you demanded it, not because you performed for it, but because you became someone who couldn't be ignored. Not through noise, but through depth. So remember this. Women don't prioritize men who chase priority. They prioritize men who are priority in their own lives first. Your mission now isn't to convince her. It's to live so fully, so authentically, so unshakably that your value becomes undeniable. Stand in your truth. Protect your peace. Honor your time. Speak with clarity. Love without losing yourself. And watch without saying a word how she begins to treat you like the man you've always been. She chooses you when you choose yourself. Stop begging for priority. If you are ready to come home to yourself, claim your transformation, and live with absolute depth, comment choose yourself right now. And if you are done shrinking and ready to lead from the inside out, hit that subscribe button and share this with a man who needs to remember his worth. Stay strong, stay grounded, and never forget, your worth was never up for negotiation.